I'm very happy and delighted to be with you this morning to share with you some of the things that we have been doing since I resumed the leadership of the EFCC on the 5th of March 2021. As you must have heard through some other media outlets, it was only 2 days ago that I celebrated my 100 days in office, precisely on the 15th of June 2021. I'm here to give you an update on the federal government's effort in the fight against economic and financial crimes. These crimes have remained a threat to our economy. And the major issues that we are talking about here are illicit financial flows, corruption, money laundering, tax evasion, cybercrime, and illicit natural resources exploration and mining. Based on the briefing that I have and the way that I want to have my presentation, I will flow with the paper. These are the major issues that we have seen. I'm going to talk about our renewed approach. I'm going to talk about the issues of cases, just as the moderator have highlighted until the end of the paper. The renewed approach to the fight against economic and financial crimes are stated in the National Anti-Corruption Strategy of the country. And that is what the EFCC hinges on to develop its own, strategic statement. As of today, we are implementing our own strategic statement 2021 to 2025. And the approaches are, of course, prevention. That is the first renewed approach that, of course, the government have and the EFCC also is working towards. This is very important because studies have shown time and time again that it is far more cheaper to prevent than to enforce, the provisions of economic and financial crimes. I'm going to talk to you about some of the issues that we have been doing in this regard. Tied to this issue of prevention is public enlightenment. And I think that is why we're here, to enlighten the public about these issues. Then ethical reorientation, very key, and dear to me personally. I remember very well, if I may digress here, that when I graduated from the police college as part of EFCC's training, when I joined the system, I wrote on attitudinal change, a catalyst against economic and financial crimes. Because since that time, I have this belief that if we can change our attitudes and the ways and manners we do things, all these problems will be solved. Then the issue of enforcement and sanction. The laws are there. If you cross the line, law enforcement are out there to see to it that you are being taken back or falling back to the line. You can't, go against the laws of the land. And then finally, the issue of recovery and management of the proceeds of crime. These are the renewed approach that we have even in our strategic plan, and that is what we intend to pursue to ensure that the vision of the EFCC, which is to rid this country of economic and financial crime, is met. Now, the federal government policy framework on this, you are aware of the government initiatives which have supported the fight against economic and financial crimes and are now used as effective tools of our investigation activities. Of course, we are aware about the Treasury single account, the IPPIS integrated payroll and personal information system. The EFCC have done quite a lot here of investigating and identifying ghost workers. Thousands of them have been identified because of this federal government project. Then the almighty BVN, the bank verification number that was introduced by the government, as well as the whistleblower policy of the federal government. These are the tools, among others, that the government have, of course, introduced that have helped the anti-corruption or the fight against economic and financial crimes from 2015 to date. You are aware, of course, it is a whistleblower that blew the whistle that led the EFCC into the recovery of over $43 million in an apartment in Ikoyi, as well as other properties across the length and breadth of this country. Now, key highlights of the new vision of the EFCC since taking over, of course, stemming from what I read out to you, is, of course, the EFCC has always been anchored on professionalism, integrity, and transparency. And we hope to continue on these three trends of issues. You can't do the work that we do if you are not a professional in your field. You have to be above board. You can't be fighting corruption and then you are corrupt. You can't be, facing people like you or the court, and then you are not trained to do that. And then, of course, fighting corruption, fighting economic and financial crimes require high sense of, integrity, in the sense that you will be dealing with a lot of people, you will be dealing with a lot of finances, you will be dealing with a lot of items that requires that. And that is key, in the sense that that is what we continue to preach to our staff. And then, of course, they have to fall in line. Let me state here that as you may be aware, that the EFCC has a full-fledged Department of Internal Affairs, that dealt with policing the personnel of the EFCC itself. Just, to show you that, look, we frown at some of these things and will continue to deal with them. And then, of course, the issue of transparency. You have to, as an agency, we are accountable to Nigerians. We have to be transparent in what we do. The provisions of Section 6 of the EFCC establishment that is very clear, regarding that we have to enlighten the public and be transparent in what we are doing, and we'll continue to do that. Innovative strategies to tackle financial crimes, illicit financial flows, and corruption in Nigeria. Here we have two issues that I want to discuss with you. First is the issue of institutional strengthening. If you are in a war, just as Sun Tzu says, you have to know yourself and then know your enemy. If you know yourself and you don't know the enemy, you stand the chance of losing. If you know the enemy and you don't know yourself, you also stand the chance of losing. And then, but you have to know yourself and, of course, know the enemy. A lot have been done in this regard over the last 18 years in the life of the EFCC. But the vision and the mandate is to strengthen what we do for the betterment of the organization. And under this institutional strengthening, I'm going to discuss with you about agency restructuring, codification of all standard operational procedures of the EFCC, policy development, as well as what I promised the Nigerians, which is the digitalization of the process of the EFCC. Then secondly, after the institutional strengthening, is the enhancement of the operational capacity of the EFCC. And that is what, of course, the tools we are going to use in achieving our mandate by investigation, prosecution, as well as asset recovery. Since when I came on board, we have embarked on a series of restructuring of the agency or transformation. One of the key things that I succeeded in doing is the creation of the Department of Intelligence. This stemmed from the fact that we promised Nigerians that going forward, our investigation is going to be intelligence-driven. And so we created this department for us also to be proactive, to go out there, gather intelligence, add value to the information that we have. And then, of course, they will pass that to the operations department for further investigation and subsequent prosecution. And since the creation of the department, we have received quite a number of intelligence, meaningful intelligence, that we have worked. We are developing cases. Just last week, they sent me a report of a certain government that have taken some money out of the coffers of the state treasury in cash over a period of time of over 6 billion naira, which is a useful thing that we are using, to investigate that aspect. Now, the department, of course, is specifically, created, as I said, to increase sophistication and operational agility of us, and then consolidating and expanding the Commission's current intelligence base for enhanced intelligence-led investigation and prosecutorial, activities. We have restructured also the Department of Operations that investigate these cases, as well as the legal department. Before I came on board, the legal department is just one of all the lawyers are doing almost everything. But we now have a criminal division, we have a civil division, we have a section that deals with admin, then we have a section that deals with appeals, cases in Court of Appeal, as well as, Supreme Court, if you understand what I mean. And then in the operations department, since when I came on board and based on the agreed this thing, we have removed all the police officers from command positions. As at today, it is the EFCC homegrown investigators that are heading all the 14 zonal offices, as well as the operational office at the headquarters. EFCC operatives are the zonal heads, and they are the 2 ICs. And then, of course, we still have officers from the Nigerian police that are still with us, on secondment. We also upgraded the ICT unit. We used to have a unit, but we upgraded it into a full-fledged department, in line with the extant circulars of government that requires us to do that. But also, more importantly to us, is because of the fact that we want to digitalize our process, want to be transparent enough so that by pressing of a button, we should be able to tell you figures, facts, as well as any other thing that record that we are keeping, for the betterment of us, and of course for accountability to Nigerians. Going forward also, I am happy to also inform you that we also upgraded procurement unit into a full-fledged department. Of course, that is also, the requirement of the extant circulars that we have seen in place. But what is more important to me personally is the fact that we want the EFCC's procurement unit to be a model, for other procurement units in this country. You understand? And I remember what I told the newly appointed acting director of that procurement unit. I told him that, look, I want the unit, or the department, sorry, to be the living manifestation of all the procurement laws in this country. Be it, a purchase of goods and services, be it consultancy engagement, etc., etc. We have to, behave and live by the book. Even though, of course, we have over 90% rating, even as per the Bureau for Public Procurement's, assessment of what we do. But that is what we want the MDAs to see, that, look, it is doable, it can be done, and this is it. And then, of course, with that also, it will give us the opportunity to test the laws to the limit, and then advise the government, on some of the red flags that we have seen, how they can strengthen. I have to dwell more on this because, as you are aware, in public sector corruption, that we are mandated to, investigate and prosecute. You can't release a government kobo without going through any procurement processes one way or another. You must award contract, you must, claim to have awarded contract in some instances, and of course, before monies are released, or services, or engagement of consultants. So it's very, very important. No government fund is expected to leave the treasury without attaching it to one thing or another, that in a way it has to do with procurement. So if we get this thing right, I assure you, you are going to see later on where I will tell you that one of the things, engagement that we have we have been doing is to engage with the Bureau for Public Procurement in this regard, because once we get that right, I assure you, public sector corruption is going to reduce. There is no time for me to, give you what do you call it, case studies regarding how these things are being done. And then we also upgraded, the internal audit unit into a full-fledged department. Also, this is in line with extant, public sector circulars that we have seen. But then, of course, this is part of what we have promised Nigerians, that we want to be more transparent and more accountable. And hence, we are strengthening even, internal checks and balances that audit can bring to the fold. We have expanded, in addition to that, the Department of Planning, Policy and Statistics, which is, we added the research component to it, in that department, because this is the department that keeps our records, etc. So in terms of agency, restructuring in the last 100 days, these are some of the issues that we have done, and many more that we are going to see. We also, very importantly, very, very importantly, we have the Special Control Unit against money laundering. I don't know whether you know what it is. Is anybody aware of what the SCUMOL is? Huh? SCUMOL. You are aware? Okay. Now, it's being repositioned to properly regulate designated non-financial institutions. And with that, it will address issues of money laundering and terrorist financing. Now, the provisions of the Money Laundering Prevention Act provides for the financial institutions and non-designated financial institutions. The NFIU is expected to receive currency transaction reports, suspicious transaction reports from financial institutions, analyze them, and then disseminate to relevant agencies as the case may be. Now, the Special Control Unit against money laundering, which is being managed by the EFCC as well as the Ministry of Trade and Investment, is expected to do similar thing, but this time on the non-designated financial institutions. We are talking about the car dealers, the jewelry dealers, the real estate, etc., etc. I said yesterday to a media outlet that, look, if we can checkmate and curtail the problems associated with real estate, laundering of process of crime in this country is going to reduce. And it is on that thinking that we are strengthening and working on this Special Control Unit against money laundering. We are working with the National Assembly, the two houses of the National Assembly, to strengthen the legal framework of this Special Control Unit against money laundering. All these are part of the proactive, approach that we have in place, or we are working, in the fight against corruption in this country. We have published the uncollected, SCUMOL certificate. We have worked on their website. Now it is very easy for you to get registered and also be answered to. We have cleared all the backlogs of issues surrounding giving of certification, because that's part of the issues out there that we have in place to control the activities of non-designated financial institutions. Am I doing well with time? Oh, good. We are making efforts in this regard also to ensure that all the zonal offices of the EFCC have designated SCUMOL, offices. Very key and important. Now, part of the restructuring of what we have been doing is the codification of the standard operational procedure. This is another reform initiative that is aimed at removing, not in its entirety, but to a larger extent, the usage of discretion, from the operations of the EFCC. Very, very important. When you have a standard operational procedure, even the chairman will have to abide by it. I remember what I told the Senate, that my vision for the EFCC is to see it that one day I, as the chairman, will ask somebody to go and do ABC, and he will look at me to say that, Mr. Chairman, I understood what you are saying, but I'm not going to do it because SOP section 3 paragraphs this said this, and this. And then I'll look at him and then I'll say, thank you. I can't query him. I can't do him anything. Then that means you have an institution that works with the rules and regulations governing it. You understand? So that is what we are working on. And this SOP is not only on operations and legal, but the entirety of what the EFCC is doing. All the departments we already have their draft SOPs. Printers are working on them. And very soon, we are going to publish it, we are going to approve it, and we are going to launch it. So that EFCC in the long run, will be operating on autopilot. And that is what the country needs. Once you are in the system will checkmate whether or not you have done something. Of course, we are doing it now. We are succeeding in a lot of areas here. But I believe that having this in place, in the long run, is better for the EFCC and for Nigerians. Now, furthermore, all in the name of trying to restructure the EFCC, we have embarked on a lot of policy development. Somebody is looking at me. Is it that the chairman is saying that he has achieved this all in 100 days? Yes, of course, we did all of this in 100 days. We are working to ensure continuity in our processes and efficiently fulfilling our mandate. The following policies have been developed, and very soon we are going to adopt them. Communication policy. We have a working document on that, and very soon we are going to approve that. Training policy. We have a policy, workplace policy on sexual harassment and bullying. We are gender sensitive, so we are going to have policy on this. Healthcare policy. We don't have a healthcare policy. We are working on that. Document security and classification policy. We have it in our head, but we want to have it documented somewhere. Staff welfare policy. Very key and important. If a director retires from EFCC today, we only give him less than 400,000 transport money, and that is all, which is very, very dangerous, for an organization like ours. Maybe that is one of the reasons why we have a negligible, of course, via negligible, internal corruption issues because of this. We have worked and adopted, of course, the official correspondence policy. We are working on, we have worked on the new staff ranking system. Our ranking was more or less neither here nor there. It's not in conformity with the law enforcement and security, family. You have to explain what your rank is, and all of that. But we have worked on the new ranking system in conformity with what is obtainable in other security and law enforcement agency, use of firearm policy, as well as retirement policies are all being worked on. So now I've come to the end of the issues of that has to do with institutional strengthening, now enhancement of operational capability and capacity. Of course, during the course of discussing that, I've told you one or two things that we are working on. The issue of asset declaration, the EFCC, the Act from Section 27 to 35 talked about issues that has to do with asset declaration for suspects that are under investigation. And it gave me the power to modify that document because it's very key in what we are doing in terms of investigation for us to get your asset declared to us, which we compare with other things, other declared assets that you have either with the CCB or with the Secretary to the government of the Federation, as the case may be. Now we have modified that. It is with the printers. It is going to, very soon, we are going to launch that. And then one of the measures that we have, of course, implemented to complement the enforcement mechanism and to mitigate vulnerabilities that facilitate crime occurrence is the issue of fraud risk assessment. Very important. You can call it fraud risk assessment. You can call it corruption risk assessment. This has to do with an assessment of an organization, of a company, of or MDS generally, as the case may be, to determine their vulnerabilities to fraud and to corruption. And this is very important. It's part of being proactive now. You remember, of course, we have read that I have explained time and time again that there is difference between fighting corruption and fighting corrupt people. You understand? Now, fighting corruption is these processes and procedures. Because Donald Cressy, let me explain here, did a study very long time ago and determined that for a fraud to take place, 3 things must have happened. 1, the issue of there must be element of pressure or need. The second thing is opportunity. And the third thing is rationalization. You must have that pressure, need. My wife is in the hospital. I want to build a house. Issues of envy. I want to get a new car. Abi? My wardrobe is old. Ladies, you want to do augmentation of this or that. Left, right, center. You understand? You are under pressure, and all of that. And then, of course, you want to commit fraud to meet up with those needs. Now, even if you are pressurized, there must be that opportunity. You understand? And the opportunity can be wherever you are. If you are a journalist and you have one exclusive report against somebody, you want to blackmail him to get money, have you? You understand? Yes. If you are in EFCC and or you are in a law enforcement agency, you have found something you want to compromise, you want to sell that information and take bribery. If you are if you are a permanent secretary or you are a governor, you have what do you call it, security board. You can ask me, I will explain to you the need for that later on. You have the capacity to award contract. You can inflate the contract, you can do this and get that. You are an engineer, you are supervising a contract, the contractor wants to use inferior materials. You can allow him to do that so that he can give you some money. You are a CEO somewhere, you want to receive kickback. So wherever you are a tomato seller. Abi? You want to put the rotten one under. You understand what I'm saying? And then put the good ones on top. You understand? You Femi, I don't know whether you have not observed that. For us that use commercial flights, if you are opportune to, if you are in any of the airports while awaiting for your flight, and then you say that you want to ease yourself, the way they will attend to you, even the way they will be removing the tissue from the road, they will do it in such a way. You understand? At times I wonder how they see it, whether they, from my face, they tend to see that I'm a Muslim. They will rush to give me kettle. They will be doing you some certain actions because they want you to give them money. So now they are there because they have the opportunity. Now they are seeing people coming in and out, and so that opportunity must be there. And then the issue of rationalization will now come to place. Everybody is doing it. It's your opportunity. If you do not do it now, opportunity come but once. You understand? You have, and all of that. So you begin to rationalize. So these 3 things will happen, and then you do it. So these are some of the things that fraud risk assessment, can bring to the fold. We as professionals, we want to go to these MDAs, assess them, advise on this, and of course the advice will come with having a fraud risk management that will determine what are the risks here, what are the residual risks that will happen after management intervention, and how to deal with them. And we have started on good terms, because we are engaging already with the Ministry of Petroleum Resources, and we want to go in there, and assess them, and advise them on what to do, as well as other MDAs, and we are developing capacity in this regard. And then, of course, budget implementation monitoring. We are doing that. Very important in public sector, corruption, very, very important. I will not stand here and tell you our modus operandi that we are using in this, because that is like letting out our strategy, which will not be good for us, and the rest. And then, of course, I have discussed these procurement processes monitoring. I told you how we want to, come from inside, then go in by setting up our own, procurement department to be a model for others, as well as, of course, what others are doing. We are monitoring that. And then extensive public enlightenment and preventive, efforts. This is very important. In 2013, the EFCC launched Interfaith Dialogue, and we developed manuals for the Christian faith and for the Islamic faith. We didn't actually implement it, the way we had wanted. Now we are reversing those manuals. We are working with the two faiths. We are going to relaunch them again, and we are going to vigorously use that. Luckily for us in this country, majority of us are Muslims and Christians, and we believe that by going through those systems, they will be able to talk to their faithfuls, and it will reduce, the way we rationalize some of these things, that even if you have the opportunity, one will remember that there is life after death, and that once die, there will be sentencing, and there will be judgment and sentencing as well. So we are working on that. It's part of it that we are here, even though I have to be here. Femi will not agree that I will not be here to enlighten the public. Now, tied to this, and in line with what we said on school mall and real estate, we are working towards the development of property ownership database. The development of the property ownership database with biometric identification system will help in providing accurate information on property ownership, while including more individuals into the government tax net. Yes, of course, individual geographical information system have, and land bureaus have details regarding who the owner is, but we are looking at it differently, because we have identified a lot of modus operandi that they are using, in holding some of these assets. So we want to enrich this, database with some of those details, for us to determine the ultimate beneficial owner of this. It's difficult, but at least we need to start from somewhere, and God willing, this will be achieved as well. Also, regarding the in line with the enhancement of operational capacity of the EFCC, we are standardizing the suspect processing procedures in line with the provision of ADJA. We have gotten the iOS 17025 standardization on some of the machines that we are using in our own forensic department. By the way, we have probably the best forensic lab in this country. We have procured and deployed ICT surveillance, communication, and other investigation tools. And I hope and pray no journalist here will ask me what are those tools that we have deployed to carry out our investigation activities. Now, moving forward, we cannot do this job alone. We have to partner with other sister agencies to fight the fight of economic and financial crimes. And luckily for us, the drafters of the law have envisaged this. And that is why I said in different forum that the EFCC is perhaps the most cosmopolitan agency in this country, looking at the composition of the board of the EFCC. If you look at Section 2 or 3 of the EFCC Establishment Act, you will see the composition of the board. Of course, the chairman is the chairman of the board, the secretary is the secretary of the board, but you have the CBN governor there, you have the DG of SEC there, you have the DG of NIA, you have the DG of SSS, all their representatives, you have the ministers of finance, foreign affairs, justice, all their representatives, you have the postmaster general, you have the registrar general of corporate affairs commission, you have the CG of prisons, CG of immigration, CG of customs. These are all part of the board of the EFCC. Very important. And these are agencies that we have on our board, and of course we hope to strengthen the relationship that we have. After all, it is their own baby. So enhancement of collaboration with other sister agencies to ensure synergy in domestic and international efforts is what we have been doing since I came on board. We are also exploring avenues to enhance capabilities of judges that handle cases of economic and financial crime, as well as the capacities of other legal officers to discharge of their duties. There are a lot of typologies, trends in these crimes, particularly in cybercrime. And the EFCC, in conjunction with the National Judicial Institute, have been organizing workshops annually, if not because of COVID, where we bring judges, that, handle some of these cases that we are dealing with, to talk about one or two burning issues in administration of justice in this country. We'll continue to do that. We have started. I had cause to meet with all the heads of courts in this country, and then either personally or through the zonal heads where we have offices. Most importantly also, we are engaging with the civil society organizations, non-governmental organizations as well. Very key and strategic. They are there. We need them. We need their help. It's not something that we know it all. So we have opened our arms for them to come in at any time to share with us what they have seen, and then of course we will share with them what is necessary in terms of what we have seen for engagement of the public and for the passage of information and intelligence that will lead to recoveries of assets. Is it my bell? Is my time off? Okay. Strengthening partnership also includes, of course, our international partners that we are working with, the Interpol, the FBI of the United States, the National Crime Agency of United Kingdom as well as the Australian Federal Police, etc. Now, very important now, I have a full breakdown of all funds recovered by the Commission from its activities. This is in line with the accountability process of funds recovered, as a result of financial crimes. Now, let me use this opportunity to clarify one or two issues. There are a lot of recoveries that the EFCC have made down the years and will continue to make. But it is not all recoveries that EFCC have made that belongs to the federal government. We made recoveries for victims of crime. And these victims of crime can be individuals, local government, state government, federal government, corporate entities, either in Nigeria or outside Nigeria. There are also recoveries that are indirect recoveries. Just in a couple of some weeks back, I think leading up to last week or thereabout, we recovered over 100 million US dollars for the Nigerian Ports Authority. But the monies were paid directly into the accounts of the Nigerian Ports Authority. But through our efforts, am I not going to report that I have recovered $100 million for MPA? But are you going to see it in the EFCC recovery account with CBN? No. So it's by and large, doing a matter, and as a result of that, the suspect is paying money directly to the individual that he defrauded. And then, of course, they will come and make statement that, look, this is done. It has to be in my record that we have made those recoveries. But there are recoveries, of course, that are made directly into EFCC recovery account, etc., etc., etc. System and processes from the officers there, down there that are working, up to different departments that are handling these issues. The EFCC have a full-fledged department called Department of Asset for Future and Recovery Management Department. This is the department that is responsible of, collating all the information and data regarding recovered assets, assets on interim for future, and assets on, final for future as well as their allocation, and of course, their management. Now, from the time that I took over, we have recovered over 6 billion naira, over 161 million United States dollars. We have recovered over 13,000 pounds, 1,730 euros. We have recovered, I don't know whether it is Canadian dollars, 200. We have recovered francs, 374,000, and then Japanese yen of 8,430. We have recovered we have recovered 30 real estate, 1 carpet, 13 electronics, 1 farmland, factory, motorcycles, land, filling station, and about 32 automobiles. The information is here and is going to be given to all of you to have a look at. In terms of recoveries, of course, it will continue to be done, and now I can't be with you. I have to give it special attention. I have to round up. I have to give it special attention, and that is the rising increase of internet fraud. This is a huge problem that we have. Almost every other day we are arresting them. From January to the 11th, 10th of June 2021, we have arrested 1,502 internet fraudsters across the length and breadth of this country. On the Monday that the courts resume, across the length and breadth, we are attempting to file, close to about 800 cases of this in nature. It's a serious problem that we are working tirelessly towards curtailing. We are working with the state governments that have that we have identified to be more vulnerable to this. It's something that our parents, our institutions, we the elders, we have to be talking to one another. It is tarnishing the image of this country. They are doing it on a daily basis. They are feeling that it is just another way of getting extra income, which is worrisome, to us. Here is some operations that we have done. Incidentally, again, the age group, if you look at the graphical presentation that we have here, the chunk of the people that are dealing, the young boys that are dealing with this, are between the ages of 25 and 34, in their active life. Coincidentally, I'm one of them, being a young man, and people from my constituency are the ones doing this. We'll continue to talk to them and all of that. We have the types of fraud that they are doing. They are into dating scam, picking, check scam, hacking, credit card scam, issues that you know and aware of. The Commission is focused on these cyber criminals, continue to carry out sustained public enlightenment campaign, taking the fight to their enclave, and collaboration with our partners, particularly the media. We need your assistance here more than ever. Please, all the correspondents that of your various media organizations that are covering anti-corruption or financial crimes, please be coming to our offices so that we'll be telling you some of these things, and then you will be sustaining, the campaign, or against these criminals. And of course, as I have said in different time during this presentation, there is of course a paradigm shift on this. We are building a tactical operational center, that will solely focus on dealing with these issues of cybercrime. I've told you also that we have created a department of intelligence that is expected to gather intel on this. We have arrested quite a number of people and prosecuted quite a number of people within this period. We have secured 185 convictions within the period under review, and of course you are aware that for 2 months, we have been on strike. We have filed 367 cases. As I said, within this week, we are going to file at least 800 cases in court, on public corruption as well as, cybercrime. All the known politically exposed cases that you are aware of that are in court, are still in court, and we are vigorously, and diligently going to sustain their prosecution. Yesterday, you have all reported it. We succeeded in securing the conviction of a former managing director of a bank, Francis Atuche. He was sentenced to 6 years imprisonment on all the 21 count charges out of the 27. Of course, to run concurrently, it involves about 27 billion, naira. We have been prosecuting that matter from the 16th of October 2009. Judgment was only given yesterday. We are determined, to continue to prosecute no matter how long it takes and no matter the amount of resources that is involved. And that is why we in the law enforcement, we say it time and time again, that there is no budget in law enforcement, because you never can tell where it can take you. It can take you to the, 6 continents of the world and back. And you have to prove your case beyond reasonable doubt. So also the issue of prosecution. It can take you 1 year, it can take you 2 years, it can take you several years. Cases of Amuson is ongoing, Shema, Lawakala, or Hakim, Muazu, Ojo Zokalu, we are going to prosecute him again all over, after 12 years of that, etc. The names are here, including this. Finally, let me conclude that the vision that is rapidly taking shape in the EFCC of today is that of a world-class, responsive, and responsible law enforcement agency with consideration of professionalism, integrity, transparency, and accountability. The new EFCC is harnessing the skills of its well-trained and motivated workforce, leveraging on the support of every stakeholder and partner, both at home and abroad, to deliver on the vision of a Nigeria free of all forms of economic and financial crimes. Nigeria is the only country we have. We are the ones to salvage it. Of course, we need the support of everybody, home and abroad. Please don't cross the line. And do remember that if you are not one of us that wants to take Nigeria to its promised land, the EFCC will get you anywhere, anytime. Thank you very much. Wait, let me put my mask before you give me corona.